going on, guys? Steel here. It's been a very long time since I've done a video other than just those two update videos. This is kind of off the cuff, and I'm probably not going to really edit it or start over if any mistakes are made, so bear with me. This is just a knife that I've had for a long time. It's the Spyderco Nilakka. It's a folding puko. I believe that's the right pronunciation. Which was graciously lent to me by Cliff Stamp. I've had it for probably a long time now. I'm trying to think. Probably close to a year now. And Cliff, if you watch, I apologize for having it so long. But I have gotten to use it, and it's high time I did a review. Plus, this will hold you guys over while I get some new stuff in to try and review. When this knife first came out, there were some initial, right up front, people were encountering issues with the extreme geometry of the blade. And I mean, I'm sure you guys will be able to see it's a zero grind, meaning that there is no secondary bevel. It's just straight from the spine, zeroed out to the edge. And if I'm right, Spyderco is the first company to do something so ambitious in a folder, as far as, you know, not like a Scandi grind, which really a Scandi grind is nothing more than a really short zero ground bevel like a Mora. But I think the main problem with the knife is, yes, it has extreme performance as far as cutting ability. It's very easy to push through materials, but that's also its downfall. It thins out so much that there's not a whole lot of room left for durability. But not that zero grinds are, it's a little hard to explain. I think really the main reason there isn't a ton of durability is because of the S30V steel. I think a better choice for this style of knife, although not as I mean, already this knife is going to a very selective targeted market, just people that follow this style of knife or like. Spyderco's never been afraid to push the barrier on thing or the limits or trying new things, innovation. But the S30V I just don't think has the edge stability to handle being taken to such a low geometry. And also, if you take into account possible overheating during sharpening, not something that I've had really much problem with Spyderco. Maybe a knife or two that I could tell literally had some problems, but I think a low carbon steel or just a more simple steel would have been better. I'd love to see this in something like super blue or, you know, white steel, something known already for being put into blades with thin stock and low geometry, particularly kitchen knives. Because you can, like, some of the tests that I like to do with a knife to see how the edge stability holds up is with bamboo skewers, which I got the idea from Kylie Harris. And just testing a performance, you can try and push cut straight down through bamboo and also scrape across the edge. Bamboo is very fibrous, and so it can test the edge stability. In one of those tests, you can kind of see right in there where the edge just crumpled. It pushed through fine because of how thin it gets. See if I can get it to macro and see. You can just see it goes down to nothing, but it also took damage from making the push cut. Knives like these are traditionally meant to be sharpened across the entire flat, so you can see that's why it's pretty polished through there. Not so much through the flat. That's probably just, you know, that's just because it's not going to be perfect. So some of the upsides are ease of sharpening if you decide not to always sharpen the flat. Even if you make a tiny micro bevel, it would take forever for it to ever become like, even probably start showing as a on the edge, and it's very easy to touch back up. Even damage can be flattened back out quickly. And you can see though that the tip also comes down to just I can't remember for certain, but I think even before Cliff had sent this, part of the tip suffered some damage from cutting. Would have been even longer than this. You might notice something interesting on the handle. I'll just conclude the blade overall, that's just kind of the ups and downs. Extreme performance, but also the downfall of low edge stability, and it really can't be used for anything serious. Even cutting twigs made me worried that it might snap a chunk out, especially in the tip. The handle is an interesting design, not in the sense of like its traditional design from where they originally are, but in that the adjustments for the pivot, that doesn't adjust the pivot. It's actually hidden underneath the scale, and I've never seen a knife do that before, actually. Normally this torque screw would be where the pivot's at for adjustment. I'm not really sure why Spyderco decided to do that. Maybe just to clean up the overall look, because it's already, when closed, very simple. The pocket clips is just about as deep carry as you could possibly get. The spider hole is easy to get access to. It is a liner lock, excellent geometry. That is one thing that surprised me though. I do have to give credit to Spyderco. The geometry on this lock is amazing. Even in some of the hardest cutting that I did with it, it never loosened up, and it would not have play up and down or side to side. Maybe side to side if you severely stressed it, but it is very well designed. It has an internal stop pin. You can see it moving there. Some skeletonization, although this big chunk right here of metal, it's not overly heavy. You can tell it's in your pocket, but it's not just like a weight there. Disengagement of the lock is good. The way your fingers are, it's pretty reliable. It would just be a detrimental cut though if this kind of knife were to close on your hand, but they did a really good job with the lock geometry. Really, I've had frame locks not as sturdy as this as far as reliability in that liner. Some things about the handle though, you'll notice if you look down at like this, the edges of the G10 are left rather sharp. You can fix that no problem yourself, just if you were to take a little sandpaper, rub on the edges. But when you do a closed grip, you know, a hammer-fisted grip, and it's really squeeze, you feel a lot of sharp edges just because everything is so flat and straight in the handle. My fingers kind of squeeze even in between the liners, you know, I have big hands. But the pocket clip is good. It doesn't really get in the way of, it really just kind of tucks right into your hand. And the choil here, or cutout, fits well naturally, feels good. So, you know, to recommend to buy it, one, you're going to have to be looking for a very specific stylized folder like this, that zero ground high performance. But I do know Spyderco on the second run of these that went onto the factory started thickening up behind the edge a little, like they just left it not quite as extreme. I mean, this was, you can't, my calipers wouldn't even read, you know, how thin it was, because it's just how thin it got. So you know, maybe worth trying, but you really have to know what you're in for. A part of me loves it because I'm really tired of all overly thick, overly robust knives on the market. I love the performance, but you just have to know what you're doing and be careful. So alright guys, new content is going to be slow to roll out, just will be until things are in full swing again. I start my new job tomorrow. I'm a little nervous, but it should be good. So thanks for everybody who stuck around, and I was glad to hear, you know, some of you guys actually missed my absence. I do appreciate everybody who watches. So have a good one, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be sure to answer them.